Monday, February 21st, 2022, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today we're going to look at the reasons why, in my opinion, it is imperative fiscally for individuals, yes, fiscally for their financial health, to have some exposure to physical gold and silver, or otherwise to stack physical gold and silver. We will also look at where the markets are this morning and at the geopolitical developments that seem to be impacting the market in the short term. A bit of noise, of course, even though I think the fundamental picture is really more important right now. So what I'm talking about today, how important, in my opinion, it is to have some exposure to physical gold and silver, has to do, of course, with people running their budgets, running their economy. And yes, people have their own economy. The word economy comes from the Greek. It means household management. And yes, what I'm saying here is not, what I'm trying to say here is you don't stack gold and silver to make money as a trade. That's the way I see it. Yes, some people will trade it, the GLD or SLV, they'll trade gold and silver futures. Yes, that's fine, but that's completely different. What I'm talking about here is more than just trading and more than just making money. And of course, gold and silver are money. So you can't really make money by having gold and silver. You can accumulate money through stacking gold and silver. And yeah, that's what we need to clarify first. And it's like any other, let's say, fiscal endeavor. If you're running a deficit every month, if you're overspending, if you're living beyond your means, of course, you're not going to be able to buy gold, well, especially not gold. You might be able to buy some silver, but you need to get your house in order to accumulate a surplus every month to be able to pay off as much as possible of your debts. Yes, I'm aware that it's harder for some of us to do that, but you really need to get down, put your financial situation on paper and see what you can cut off, how you can improve your fiscal situation, because until you are on a good, sound financial footing, until you know what your budget is and your outgoings and income is, you won't be able to do this. And so that's the first step. So apart from that, I'm going to go through some points that I think are really important, especially for people, a lot of you out there who watch my videos, people who value privacy, self-reliance, and want to be left alone, have a gripe with big government and all the spending, all the inflation that big government and big central banks are creating. So we're going to go through these points right now. I think the most important one, especially seeing what's happening in Canada, have they frozen bank accounts? Have they, yes, basically frozen GoFundMe and things like that. They could do that anywhere. So the most important thing for me is privacy. It gives you privacy. Here's a silver florin from, this one is from 1913. So that's 925 silver. Yes, very private. Put it in my pocket. No one knows it's there. And keep it safe, of course. So that, yeah, privacy. You don't have privacy when you're savings is in the bank or your savings is in a crypto, in an exchange. Yeah, I'll touch upon that a little bit. Yeah, if you want to have your crypto, have it in your private wallet or hard wallet. They can confiscate your crypto from an exchange, of course. The second point that I think is really important has to do with being able to hold it. And that's no counterparty risk. I think that's one of the most important things about having gold and silver. In the old days, when gold and silver were part of the banking system, yes, a lot of people left their gold in the bank, especially the wealthy. But if they sensed there was a problem with that bank, they would run to that bank to take their money out. That was the old bank run, of course. So whenever you have gold and silver, not only deposited maybe with the bank, which I personally don't recommend, or if you have exposure to it through ETFs, you have counterparty risk. What's the other point that I think is really important? Well, it's to do with the fact that gold and silver are money. And what that means is that they're very marketable. They're accepted everywhere around the world. People know what gold and silver are. So they're very liquid. So yes, if you're in trouble in a foreign country, you can use your gold sovereign to get the local currency. And that's why they give U.S. Air Force pilots, they give them sovereigns when they go on missions abroad over enemy territory. Because if they get shot down and they're in enemy territory, having those sovereigns will go a long way. So that's the liquidity part. And it's to do with money, of course. And the fourth point is to do with money as well. It's gold and silver have become money because they're a stable store of value over time. So that's the other point, stable store of value. And then the current system that we're under, a fiat currency system, which inflates the currency, has to keep inflating until it goes to zero. Gold and silver can actually act as a protector of your savings, and it might even feel like an investment because the price of the fiat drops so much, or the mirror image is the price of gold and silver going up so much that it feels like a speculation, even though it isn't. It's just protecting your wealth, and it might actually give you extra purchasing power in a time when all the fiat currencies go to zero because there's no money or currency around. So that's the fourth point. Fifth point has to do with the political picture. What I mentioned earlier, that we want to be left alone. We don't want to be told what to do by government. And so holding physical gold and silver is the anti-fiat. And what do I mean by that? Well, by not keeping your savings in the banking institutions, you won't be financing the globalists, the people who want to control your life, the Klaus Schwabs, World Economic Forums of the world, and others. So every ounce of gold and silver you have out of the system is a loss for them. And that's why institutions like the World Gold Council, that are basically globalist institutions, that actually come across as if gold, if they really like gold, they do. But for you and I, they want to push us to have paper gold because they don't want us protecting ourselves. They don't want us self-sufficient. The sixth point to do with that is that it keeps government in check. And that's why the mainstream media, government, Wall Street to some extent, the big banks. That's why they're always denigrating gold, because they want to keep the fiat Ponzi going. And if you get too many people wanting to stack physical gold and silver, that goes against the grain. And that's why we have to keep waking people up. That's what I'm trying to do here through this channel since late 2015. Yes. And the eighth point is to show you how important gold and silver, but gold particularly, is for the health of a nation financially. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. The first one is South Korea. Back in 1998, we had the Asian currency collapse, Asian crisis. I remember very well the South Korean government asking Korean housewives or anyone in Korea to hand in their gold jewelry because they needed reserves, because the South Korean currency had gone down the drain and they had no reserves. And I remember stories of people lining up to give in their jewelry, their gold jewelry. And the same thing is going on in Turkey right now. The Turkish government, even though they do have gold and some reserves, they're trying to convince the public to part with their gold. And it just goes to show how important it is. So with that, let's now look at where the markets are and what's happening geopolitically overnight. It's 8:38 a.m. London time. So what I saw this morning that is significant is this headline here, and I'm taking this from the Financial Times. It says, Biden and Putin agree in principle to Ukraine summit. Last possible efforts to avoid war as blame game over Donbass clashes continues. And it looks like President Macron has been able to convince both Putin and Biden to a summit. And so how have the markets reacted? Well, let's look at gold first. And again, I like to say that the major reason right now to have gold or accumulate gold and silver is not because of this geopolitical crisis. It might move the market a little more than it should, but in the end of the day, it's the fact that we have negative real yields or interest rates, and it's going to stay like that for many years, I think, and because they can't stop the inflation. But anyway, gold broke through 1900 overnight. We went up to 1908.60, and it's come down after this headline, and we dropped to a low of 1887.40. Right now, though, we're at 1895.80, so we're down just about $2. And I would say that even if this headline was encouraging in terms of tamping down the tensions, I don't think gold and silver really moved down that much. Don't forget, technically, 1880 was a key level. We didn't even get down to that level. And the stock market as well, for example, right now, the Dow is up 180 points or 0.5%, which isn't really that much. Granted, we've been up about 300 points, but you would expect if this was really legit, that they're going to sit down and solve their differences, we would be up a lot more. We'd be up 500 points in the Dow. Gold would be down about $30. So doesn't look like the market buys this headline. It's a little bit like earlier a week or so ago when Russia said they showed pictures of them withdrawing from the area. The markets reacted positively, and then the West said, oh no, they didn't withdraw. So a lot of a lot of changes here, I would say. So yeah, silver got up to 24.12, went down to 23.68, and now we're back to around 23.81, so down about 10 cents. The Dow, as I said, is up about 170 points, 0.5%. The NASDAQ is only up 29 points at just above 14,000, and we've been up about 180. So again, not a huge relief rally, I would say. S&P 500 is up under 0.5% at 43.70. The FTSE is up 50 points, or 2/3%. The European currencies have rallied on the back of this, mainly because Europe has a lot to lose with a major conflict here in Europe. Sterling is up 1/3% at 136.30. The euro is up just over 1/3 at 113.65. The dollar's down 1/8% versus the yen at 114.89. And the dollar's unchanged versus the yuan at 632.71. Aussie dollar is up 0.5%, 72.15. The dollar is down 0.2% versus the Canadian dollar, 127.31. And the Kiwi dollar is up just under 0.5% at 67.22. To the commodities, we're seeing crude oil down 1/3%, just below 90. The range has been 91.65 to 88.88. High-grade copper is up 1/3 at 4.54. And natural gas, U.S. nat gas, is up 4.5% at 4.58. The 10-year yield is unchanged at 1.93. Yes, unfortunately, I think the West or NATO, especially the US and the UK, are really pushing for some kind of conflict for some reason. We can debate that, but this is not the point of this video. And anything that solves the problem through a summit or a negotiation, I think is a victory for Russia and for Putin, because I honestly don't think Putin wants a conflict. He wants just to be left alone, just like we do. And the whole problem for him is the fact that NATO has expanded to his borders. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.